This video is unscripted and not really formatted or planned. So it's probably gonna be shit. Now to start off, I am not familiar with JRPGs in any way, shape, or form. The only ones I've really played, if you count them as JRPGs, are Pokemon, mainly X and Y, and Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. So I didn't even play the good ones. That is my background on JRPGs. So coming into it, one of my main concerns and one of the things that kind of drove me away from the Persona series, besides the fan base being downright atrocious and just very unapproachable, was the gameplay. Because JRPGs, me, like many of probably people watching and just people in general, JRPGs kind of have the stigma of being boring, turn-based combat, you know, not that exciting. So I was definitely coming into it with not very high hopes or not expecting the gameplay to be very good, more in for it for the characters and the story. I know that's kind of what gravitates people towards Persona. So I'm going to start off by talking about the gameplay. Is the gameplay fun? Kind of. I still, after finishing the game, and I had about a 70 to 80 hour run, I didn't do like too many of the side shit, but I did the true ending, and I did Marie's whole path. So I did all the like combat JRPG stuff available in the game. Still, after going through the whole game, the JRPG stuff, it's not horrible, and I think it's definitely, the more used to it you get, the more comfortable it is, and then it becomes more about what can I do to almost kind of break it, to just get really broken or work around a problem I have. Me personally, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I played on hard. I was getting my ass kicked in Yukiko's castle, and I really wanted to fucking stop playing the game. So I'm gonna keep it 100. I turned more XP on, okay? I put it on the whole game. Why? Because I knew if I didn't have that shit on, I was not gonna enjoy this game. So I know what you're saying. Oh, so you didn't really actually play the game? It's like kind of cheating. I don't really give a fuck. I did also spend like hours, like I think like 6 to 7 hours getting Yoshitsune like halfway through the game. So the rest of the game was kind of like fucking nothing to me. So just, I'm letting you guys know this because I want to be like, you know, transparent. I didn't really like struggle or like with half the game because I had Yoshitsune, I had Trumpeteer, because I grinded for it. And now I hear what you say, that's kind of ruining the game experience because there's no challenge. I don't really give a fuck if there's a challenge. The JRPG, in my mind, the system is made to be broken, especially with shit in Persona 4, like shuffle time and using the fucking magic arcana to just fucking upgrade your skills way ahead of time. But overall, the gameplay is not bad. It's enjoyable, and I think you get more used to it as you go through the game. And at the end of the day, it is just JRPG stuff, so it's not like awful, but unless you're like really into it, I don't think you're gonna be like, whoa, this is so fucking fun and amazing. Like, it was enjoyable, and coming from somebody with very little JRPG experience, I wasn't bored, and I enjoyed my time. Most of the time during the game, I wasn't like, I'm so hyped to fucking do the dungeon again, let's go. But the reason why the JRPG elements kind of work well is because they tie directly into. The game has the system called social links, which works really well into the gameplay because it kind of creates this feedback loop. So you go and do the dungeons and you do the JRPG bullshit, and then you come back out of them and you kind of have to talk to the characters. You got to get to know them a bit better. Like, what are they struggling with? How do they tie into the story? And that's where the social links come in, where you spend time with them. And when you do that, it also upgrades how good you do in battle. So it kind of ties itself back to each other, which makes you more invested into the story. At least for me, I found myself getting more invested into the JRPG elements as well as the story, because the game kind of just makes you more familiar with the characters, and at the same time it rewards you by making you stronger, giving you perks while in the dungeon. That being said though, the social links, I like the idea of them. I like how they work into like the JRPG gameplay, but the stories of some of the social links, it's really hit or miss in my opinion. Some of them are pretty good and or just enjoyable, but most of them, especially the main characters, some of them feel super disconnected from the story. Either that or they're just outright fucking boring. I think Yosuke's and Rise's actually work pretty well, and it kind of matches and continues on their sort of stories of how their original personas and their shadow self when they got it, and it kind of just evolves onto that. But one like Yukiko's, it's just so fucking boring. Like, I really don't give a fuck, and I get how it like kind of ties into like her whole shadow self and whatnot. And Yukiko during her social link feels so different than Yukiko during cutscenes and the story, and it's just so disconnected, and it feels like it's a different character entirely. And the social links also don't have the same weight. Like Nato's, I don't know how to pronounce her name still. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. Nato it just feels way less serious, which isn't a horrible thing, but it feels kind of weird because all the other ones, they're kind of going through some shit, and Nato's like let's play detective, and that's like literally it. But that's like kind of a nitpick. The characters though are pretty good. They're definitely flawed, they're not perfect, and they're not always the most consistent across the story, but maybe it's the amount of time you spend with them and having to do social links and whatnot. You get so familiar with the main cast. They do well to make it feel kind of like a group of friends, even though, you know, it's a fucking video game. Overall, just pretty likable people across the whole story, and they work well together even though they don't like really know each other. They kind of get familiar with each other, and the moments, especially near the end of the game, just make it more bittersweet. They really drive home that's like, you're leaving. Like, they really fucking drive that home at the end of the game. I enjoyed the characters. I don't really know what else to say. I'm not like, I don't really know writing or video games or whatnot, but it didn't feel like, you know, this was blowing my fucking mind or some shit. But they felt enjoyable. It felt homey. It felt good to be around them. You wanted to talk to the characters. You wanted to know more about them and whatnot. My only issue with them is that I wish the social link kind of tied in more to how they acted during the story, because a lot of the times their social links and their actual, like, how they acted during cutscenes and whatnot felt really disconnected sometimes. I'm keeping 100. The side characters, the only one I did was a sports club, and I did enjoy that. I thought it was, you know, it was a cute little story, but I didn't really do many of the other ones. I think Nanako and Dojima's are one of the better social links. They kind of work together and build with each level to help show how they both need each other, and that their loneliness can be helped by them being for each other, and they realize that they're both experiencing the same thing. And both of these kind of tie into the... Okay, now the story. It is very slice of lifey. I'm gonna be real. Like, when I started this game, if you've watched part 4 of JoJo's, imagine that, but less goofy. And I love part 4 of JoJo's. That's one of the best parts. It's like that, but less goofy. I think the story's good, and it's interesting, and it sets itself up not to be like the most urgent thing. It's kind of done on purpose. Because of this though, the pacing of the game and the story can be fucking horrible at times. I'm gonna be real. Like, when after you rescue Rise and you have, like, literally it feels like 2 months in the game, I might be wrong, but it feels like fucking forever, where you have the summer festival and fireworks, and then you also have the beach shit. It feels like a fucking eternity before you get any actual plot development or anything. Did I hate those parts? No, they were enjoyable. They were funny. You know, it gets you more involved in the character. It gets you more invested because you feel like you're actually going to school each day and whatnot. But at the same time, it just feels like the story is like, it feels like filler. They make it feel like filler because it's like, where the fuck is the plot at? So there are some pacing issues, and it could have been better if it just kind of broke itself up a bit more. And the story also feels like it gets repetitive. I get, especially in the beginning, and I get that's the point. It's like, you got to save the next person. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just an observation. I'm not really gonna like spoil too much, but I'm gonna talk in broad terms about like the end portion. First off, that thing in December, I'm gonna be real. The fact that you need to get exactly the right text 8 times in a row is fucking stupid. Okay, I missed that shit by 1 on my first try, completely blind, and I searched that shit up. I think they should have made it a bit more leeway. You could have been able to miss like 1 or 2 of those 8 near the end, especially because they're like practically the same fucking text, and it would have felt way more natural. I know this is like, well, if you just were paying attention, you would have shut the fuck up. If Atlas was like, maybe we should allow a little more leeway near the last few questions on this scene, it would have felt way more natural, and I feel like way more people would have actually figured it out and gotten to the correct, you know, next semester and the last dungeon and whatnot. By making it so specific, they really fucked themselves up, because now almost everybody's experience of the game is, oh yeah, I also fucked up December, so I had to go search shit up online and then retype it, and that takes you out of the story in the game so much, and it felt so fucking dumb. I will say the surprise for the murderer, it didn't blow me away, but it was interesting, and I was intrigued. I was invested. I think after they find the murderer though, the steam definitely blows down. I think having more slice of life shit during that makes sense though, story wise. However, after you finally find the killer and there's a more slice of life laid back section in the beginning of January and February, that's what leads me to my biggest problem with this fucking game. And this isn't a problem in the original Persona 4, but it is in Golden, and that of course is Marie. I don't fucking like Marie. I really don't fucking like Marie. I don't give a fuck about Marie, but they make her seem so important. Okay, there's spoilers for this section because I'm gonna just talk about everything with Marie and why I don't fucking like her. Marie is a Velvet Room attendant. The Velvet Room is the place where you go and you fuse personas to fight in the JRPG shit. She was added in Golden. She wasn't in the original. But anyways, she has her own dungeon and she has a whole social link and everything. And she's actually like kind of important to the story in Golden. However, I don't fucking like her because they don't make you fucking like her. When I was doing her social link, I'm gonna be real, I spent the first like quarter, half of the game not doing her social link because she just seemed boring and I didn't give a fuck about her. And then my friend was like, hey, if you want to do like the actual ending, you have to do her social link. And I was like, fuck, okay, I guess I'll do it then. And then when I did it, you know, it's her finding her past, and then at the end she's like, but I'll make new memories, so it's fine. And then it's just like, well, fuck all that, I guess. When you go do her dungeon, all the characters are like, no, we have to save her. We care about her so much. And it just felt so out of place because you barely spend any time with Marie. And the other characters also barely spend any time with Marie. So it just feels super disingenuous and just random that all the characters are like, oh my god, we care about Marie so much. Like, no the fuck you don't. The main characters, you can tell, are actual friends that care about each other, or they'll be hanging out, or they talk about each other, right? They're not just talking about you. You're not the like center of it. There's a friend group going on there. But Marie isn't part of this. Marie shows up like 4 times during her social links. You talk to everybody and that's it. It doesn't really feel like she's friends with these people. She feels much more like acquaintances. So by everybody being like, we care about her so much, it just feels so fucking out of place. Now, to be fair, if you like Marie and you cared about her story, you could look at it a completely other perspective and say, no, I think people cared about her. I think she's a good character and I work. Me personally though, I fucking hated it. I like the dungeon design. I like the music, but holy shit, I felt like it was so out of place. And the entire time during the monologue, I was just like, oh my fucking god, I don't care. I just shut the fuck up, please. But to finish on the story, I don't think it's horrible. I think the pacing isn't bad, but it's kind of intentional. It's a more slice of lifey. The pressure isn't too big. And the true ending, you know, where you fight the final secret boss, it feels a bit out of place and kind of like really forced, but it's whatever. It doesn't take itself too seriously. I think if the tone was a bit lighter, it could have gotten away with a bit more, but you know, it's an enjoyable story and it's not trying to be like this masterpiece or whatever. But one of the big backbones of the story that does actually kind of help it carry itself is 2 things. Inaba, the town you live in, is cozy, it's small, and it just feels really nice because you get so used to it by the end of the game because you've ran around the entire town multiple times. You see similar people, you see your friends hanging out around, and it just works really well to get you super familiar with this setting so you really feel like you're there. And it's not just you going around it, it's the visuals. It's cozy, it's a small town feeling. You walk down, you see the same people, it's the same places, and it doesn't really change too much. But what accompanies all these places that really makes it memorable is the music. Damn, the music is good. The music is good as fuck in this game. It's so catchy, and maybe the reason you get used to it is because the game is like 70 to 90 hours. So you get super familiar with the music. It's just so fucking good. So many of the tracks. My favorites being the snow track during the last semester and Heaven. And the music isn't like mind-blowing. It just works to kind of push this kind of homely, kind of relaxed feeling that the game is going for, and it works on that perfectly. I can't tell you if I'll be listening to the soundtrack outside of the game. Truth be told, I don't think I will, because the soundtrack becomes a soundtrack. It really ties into specific moments in the game. So if you listen to it, you'd be like, oh shit, this is the day theme or whatever during the sunny days in Inaba, right? And it just works so well. I really love the music in this game, and it just works to create this great atmosphere. It really helps to make you feel familiar with the setting and make you feel like Inaba is your home while you play it. And it's just so nice. And I mean, I don't really have much else to say about the game. I'm not a game reviewer. I'm not a game critic. It's just a game that I picked up because one of my friends has liked Persona for a while, and I was like, fuck it, it's $15 on Steam. Let me pick up Persona 4 Golden. After I played the prologue, and the prologue is a bit long, and that kind of ties in the pacing problem. I played the first like hour of the prologue, and I was like, okay, that's all right. And then I finished the prologue, and I kept playing, and this game had a fucking grab on me. I was tied in so much, and despite there being problems and noticeable problems while you play, that's what the game does. That it gets this hold on you where you're like, I don't really want to put it down. And it's because of these characters, it's because of the setting, it's because of the music and the atmosphere it creates. And it's because even if you don't like the JRPG elements, by making you interact with the characters and learn more about them, it all ties in together to make the JRPG elements better and easier because of the new abilities. And it just enforces and encourages you to, of course, interact with characters. Rating games out of 10 feels kind of weird, and I know what you're saying, but you rate music out of 10. Is there a difference? I think so. There's more elements into a game, so I'm gonna use the tier list system, okay? We're gonna go from S to F, right? And I think on the tier list, Persona 4 Golden has some glaring issues that are very noticeable. And for me, I think Marie's whole story feels super out of place and forced and just unnatural. But don't get me wrong, the gameplay actually isn't boring, and if you don't like JRPG, kind of get used to it and start enjoying it maybe near the end. It's just the atmosphere, it's the music, it's the characters. You really feel like Inaba is your home, and it does that in a way that I haven't experienced in another game. I'm probably going to put Persona 4 Golden in A tier. It's a pretty good game, and I highly recommend you guys check it out. If you get it on sale on Steam or on a Switch or whatever you play on, that shit's like 14-15 bucks. 100% worth your money. That shit is a fucking steal. Again, on average, the game is kind of long. I'd say 70 to 90 hours. I didn't really do too much of the side shit, and I beat the game in like 70 hours, and there's probably maybe like 2 or 3 AFK hours there where I just like left the game on an accident. So keep that in mind. 100% worth your time. I've loved this game, and I'm definitely going to check out the other Persona games in the future. Maybe I'll review them, but yeah. I know this video is kind of different than what I usually do, but at the end of the day, I just kind of want to make videos about shit I like on this channel. So this is, yeah, a review of Persona 4 Golden, the game I've been playing a lot. It's just absolutely had a hold on me for the past few weeks, and I finally finished it, and I really wanted to talk about it. I thought about writing a script for this video. I thought about kind of really formatting my thoughts. I started doing that, and I realized like I would not be able to tell everything I want to say in a way that I'm able to say it. Sorry if this feels a bit all over the place. It is unformatted, it is unscripted, but it is I guess it's more genuine to what I do. So yeah, anyways, thank you for watching. Tell me if you like Persona 4 Golden. If you don't like it, what's your favorite character or some shit? What's your favorite dungeon or some shit? Did you also abuse the fuck out of Yoshitsune? Because you know my ass did that shit. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.